Most beekeepers spend $150 to $350 every spring replacing colonies they lost over winter. There is a method that eliminates that cost entirely, produces bees that are better adapted to your local climate than anything a supplier ships you, and has been used by self-sufficient beekeepers for centuries. And the package bee industry has spent decades making sure beginners never think to ask about it. Here is what the standard beekeeping startup loop looks like and why it never ends. You lose colonies over winter. This is normal. The national average winter loss rate in the United States runs between 30 and 50% annually. You go to your supplier in February. You order replacement packages or nucleus colonies. You wait until April or May for delivery. You install them and you start again. The package costs $150, $200. The nuke costs $200 to $350. If you run 4 hives and lose 2, you spend $300 to $700 just to get back to where you were in October. And then next winter, you lose colonies again. And the spring after that, you order again. The cycle never breaks because it was never designed to break. It was designed to be a subscription. You are a recurring revenue source for a supply chain that depends on you not knowing how to produce your own bees. Here is the number that changes everything. A single overwintered colony in good health will attempt to swarm between 1 and 4 times in a typical spring. Each swarm is a free colony. A prime swarm contains the original mated queen and roughly half the colony population, enough to fill a new hive and build to full strength within 6 to 8 weeks. Secondary swarms, called after swarms or casts, contain virgin queens and smaller populations but are still fully viable starter colonies. A beekeeper running 4 hives who learns to manage swarms rather than suppress them never buys a package again. The bees pay for themselves in perpetuity. Swarm catching is the oldest and most reliable free bee acquisition method available, and it requires almost no equipment you do not already own. The basic setup: a clean, empty hive body with drawn comb if available, or fresh foundation if not, positioned where you want a new hive to live. A long-handled bee brush, or a soft bristled paintbrush. A ladder if the swarm clusters high. A cardboard box or a spare hive body to temporarily house the swarm during transport. When a swarm issues, it clusters on a branch, a fence post, a mailbox, or any convenient structure within a few hundred yards of the parent hive. This clustering phase lasts anywhere from 20 minutes to 3 days, while scout bees locate a new nest site. During this window, the bees are almost entirely non-defensive. They have no hive to protect, no brood, no honey stores. The queen is present, but not laying. The entire cluster is in transit mode, and catching them is straightforward. You position your collection box directly beneath the cluster. You give the branch a single sharp shake. The cluster falls into the box. The bees that miss the box will follow the queen's scent and cluster in the box with her. You close the entrance at dusk and move the box to your prepared hive location. Open it the following morning, and the colony begins building their new home immediately. Cost: 0. Time: 20 to 45 minutes. Quality of bees acquired: higher than any package you have ever purchased. That last point deserves more explanation because it is the one the package industry would least like you to understand. A swarm is not a random collection of bees. It is a naturally selected colony that was healthy and productive enough to reach swarming population pressure. The genetics that drove that swarm to occur are the genetics of a colony vigorous enough to overflow its space. Compare this to a commercial package, which is produced by splitting large apiaries in California or Georgia and shaking bees from multiple colonies into a screened box with an unrelated mated queen. The bees in a package have never lived together before. The queen is often produced from different genetics entirely. The combination has no established social structure, no shared pheromone profile, no cooperative colony identity. A swarm is a unified family. They have lived together, built together, and are genetically coherent. They install themselves with speed and efficiency that commercially purchased packages rarely match. More critically, a swarm caught from your own or a neighbor's apiary carries locally adapted genetics. These bees overwinter in your specific climate, forage on your specific local flora, and have survived the pest and disease pressures specific to your region. Commercial packages are bred in California and designed for California conditions. Your winters, your springs, your forage calendar, none of it entered the breeding calculation. Local swarm genetics are free and locally adapted. Commercial packages are expensive and locally foreign. This is not a close comparison. Beyond catching swarms, the second method for producing your own bees is making splits, and this is even more within your control. A split is a deliberate division of a strong colony into 2 or more units. You take 3 to 5 frames of brood, nurse bees, and honey from a donor hive, place them in a new hive body, and either introduce a purchased queen or allow the split to raise their own queen from the young larvae present on the frames. The queen rearing option is the fully free version. A split containing eggs and young larvae, less than 3 days old, will immediately begin producing emergency queen cells. Within 16 days, a new queen emerges, mates with local drones within 5 to 7 days, and begins laying within 2 to 3 days of successful mating. Your split is now a self-sufficient colony, produced entirely from your existing stock at zero input cost. One strong, overwintered colony can produce 3 to 4 splits in a season without significantly reducing the donor colony's honey output if timed correctly. That means a beekeeper running 2 strong hives can build to 6 or 8 colonies in a single season without purchasing a single bee. By the following spring, those 6 to 8 colonies are overwintered local genetics producing their own splits and swarms. The compounding effect is geometric. Your apiary grows every year at zero cost once the system is running. Let me tell you exactly when this clicked for me. My 3rd season at Dave's Hive, a colony swarmed before I could do anything about it. I watched it cluster in an oak tree at the edge of my property, and hang there for about 4 hours. I did not have equipment ready. I panicked, called a beekeeper friend, and was told to get a box under it and shake. I caught that swarm in a cardboard box, transferred it to a spare hive body I had sitting in the garage, and set it next to my existing hives. Within a week, it was drawing comb. Within 3 weeks, it was bringing in pollen at a rate that matched my established hives. By July, it had filled 2 supers. That swarm colony was the strongest hive in my yard that first year. It overwintered in better condition than hives I had purchased as packages at $180 each. The genetics clearly suited my local conditions in a way the California packages never quite managed. That was the last year I ordered packages. Every colony I have added to the yard since has come from splits or caught swarms. My spring supply cost is zero. My colony count increases every year rather than cycling through winter losses and spring replacements. Here are the mistakes that keep people in the purchase cycle. Mistake 1. Trying to prevent swarming instead of harvesting it. Most beginner advice focuses on suppressing swarms through space management, queen replacement, and splitting before swarm cells appear. This is the right approach for maximizing honey production from existing colonies. But for a beekeeper who wants free bees, the swarm is the product. Let one hive produce splits by design, rather than fighting its natural impulse to reproduce. Mistake 2. Not having equipment ready. Swarms give short notice. A beekeeper with drawn comb, an empty hive body, and a bottom board ready to go catches swarms opportunistically. A beekeeper who has to order equipment after the swarm issues misses the window. Keep one assembled, empty hive on site at all times from April through July. Mistake 3. Being too aggressive with splits too early. Splits made before the donor colony has reached full spring buildup produce weak, slow-starting daughter colonies that drain resources without building enough to be self-sufficient before winter. Time splits for when a colony is at or near swarm pressure in your local climate, typically when they are covering 8 to 10 frames of brood. Mistake 4. Not tracking queen rearing timelines in splits. If you allow a split to raise its own queen, the queen is not laying for 16 to 24 days. A beekeeper who inspects at day 10 and sees no eggs panics, assumes queenlessness, and introduces a purchased queen that then kills the virgin in the process of emerging. Know the timeline. Do not inspect splits for 25 days after making them. Picture your apiary 2 years from now on this system. 8 hives, all from splits and caught swarms off 2 original colonies, all locally adapted genetics, all producing their own expansion stock each spring. Your spring budget for bees, 0. Your colony count increasing every year rather than recovering from winter losses. Every hive in your yard built from the strongest genetics in your local population because only swarms produce and only strong colonies swarm. You are no longer a customer of the package industry. You are a producer of bees from your own land, running a closed loop that pays for itself indefinitely. Drop a comment and tell me whether you have ever caught a swarm or made a split. I read every comment at Dave's Hive. Subscribe and turn on notifications because next week we are covering the full spring split calendar. Exactly when to split, how many frames to use, and how to raise your own queens from every split without purchasing a single cell. The bees were free the whole time. Now you know how to collect them.